Hello all, welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, we are going to see about HB transfers. First, let us see about read transfer in AHB. So, in case of a read transfer, in case of AHB transfer, we have two phases. So, in case of AHB transfer, we have two phases. First one is address phase, and second one is data phase. In address phase, in case of address phase, the address information is passed, whereas in case of data phase, data is passed. The data is passed. So the direction of data is decided by H write signal. When H write is equal to 1, then the data is transferred from master to slave, and this operation is called write operation. And when H write is equal to 0, then the data is transferred from slave to master, and this operation is called read operation, or it is called as a read transfer. So the transfer is divided into two types. First one is address phase, where the address information is passed, and the data phase, where the data is passed, and the direction of data is decided by H rate signal. When H rate is equal to 1, the data is transferred from master to slave, and it is called as a write operation. And when H rate is equal to 0, then the data is transferred from slave to master, and it is called as read operation or read transfer. So here in read transfer, we can see we have a clock signal, and this is address phase and followed by data phase. And we have a signal called HADDR of 32-bit, and we have H write signal, and HR data is a data bus, read data bus. It is a read data bus, and using this HR data bus, we are passing the data from slave to master. Slave to master. That is, read operation is being performed, and HRD signal. Using this HRD signal, if HRD is equal to 1, if HRD is equal to 1, then the slave is ready to accept, or that is, the slave is ready to read or write the data, or the slave is willing to transfer the data. Either it is read or write. If HRD is equal to 0, then it indicates that slave is busy with another work, and it cannot perform any type of transfer, that is read transfer or write transfer. So when HRD is equal to 1, then any kind of transfer, that is read transfer or write transfer, can happen. So let us analyze these waveforms. So at the passage of clock, so here initially address A is being passed. So initially address A is passed in the address phase. So here we can see address A is being passed in the address phase. Here we can see H write signal is low, which indicates no writing is performed here. H write is low, so data is not written. So writing is not happening from master to slave. So here we can see no data is being read. So here we can see no data also being read from the slave to master. And here H rate signal, and whereas HRD signal is high in this duration of address phase, but this is an address phase, and in address phase only the exchange of address takes place and no data transfer takes place. So even though HRD is high, but no reading is transferred, That is, master cannot read any information from the slave during the address space. And when the data phase starts, the address which was specified by the master, that is in this case A, the master tries to read the data from A location from the slave. But here in this case, HREADY is equal to 0. So HREADY is 0, so slave is busy and it is not interested in transferring any data to master. So master cannot read any data from slave during this region when HREADY is equal to low. So in this region, slave to master data transfer is not happening. That is, read operation is not happening. So here we can see no read operation is being happening in this region. But here H write is high. In this region, we can see H write is high. Even though H write is high, no data is being write into the slave by the master. Here we can see again H ready is becoming high, and here we can see H ready is becoming high at this point. So the data will be transferred from slave to master, that is read operation. Now let's see write transfer. Same here, HRD is initially high up to this clock cycle, and during the address phase, address information is being passed, and HWrite is high during the address phase, and during the data phase, again we can see HRD is becoming low, which indicates that slave is not ready for any kind of transfer, and here but HWrite is high during this cycle. So here we can see HRD is low up to this cycle. HRD is low up to this cycle. So the slave is not ready for transfer up to this cycle. So the address phase will also be extended until HRD becomes high. Here we can see the address phase is the address phase should be up to here only, but as HRD is low, the address phase is extended up to this clock cycle. This is extended address phase. So the address phase will get extended if HRD signal is low and until it becomes high. So the address is extended, and in data phase we can see as HRD is high, the data is transferred to the address A from master to slave. Now let's see multiple transfer. Now let us analyze at T1 clock cycle. At T1 clock cycle, we can see HRD is high. We'll write here HRD equal to 1 and HWrite is equal to high. HWrite equal to 1 and during the data phase this is happening, that is HRD equal to 1 and HWrite is equal to 1. HRD equal to 1 means slave is ready for the transfer, and HWrite is equal to 1 indicates write operation. So the write operation takes place in the write data bus HW data 31 down to 0. So that the data will be transferred from master to slave with the help of this HW data bus. So here we can see during this T1 clock cycle, H rate is equal to 1 and address A is being passed during the address phase T0 to T1. This is the address phase and this is the data phase. And here we can see the HW data, sorry, T0 to T1. This is the address phase and here to here it is the data phase. So in the data phase we can see the data is being transferred from master to slave. From master to slave the data is being transferred, and for this T1 to T2 the address phase has already been performed in previous clock cycle T0 to T1, and from T1 to T2 this is the address phase for next transfer, that is B T1 to T2. Again this address phase will happen for next transfer. This is address phase and this is data phase. So during this second address phase, address B is being passed, and here we can see H write is equal to low, which indicates a read operation, and we can see here H ready is asserted to high. H ready is high. So in data phase, so T0 to T1 is the first address phase and T1 to T2 is the first data phase. So for completing one transfer, it is taking total 2 clock cycles, that is T0 to T1 and T1 to T2. So at T2 one transfer is being completed. At T1 to T2 clock cycle one transfer has been completed, and parallelly T1 to T2 in clock cycle T1 to T2 next transfer is initiated. Second transfer is initiated and T1 to T2 is the address phase for second transfer, and T2 to T3 is the data phase for second transfer. Here we can see T2 to T3 is the data phase for second transfer. So second transfer completes at T3, and here we can see at T1 to T2 the address B is being passed, and here H rate is low indicates a read operation. So it should read the data in the next clock cycle, that is in the data phase. And here H rate is high indicates that slave is ready for transfer. And in the next clock cycle, that is in the data phase, we can see H ready is becoming low, which indicates that slave is not ready for any transfer. So during this data phase only, so this T2 to T3 will also acts as address phase for third transfer. Hope you are getting. So T2 to T3 is the address phase for third transfer. But here H ready is low, so this address phase is extended up to here. So the address phase is being getting extended up to here since H ready is low. Until H ready becomes high, the address phase will get extended, and when the H ready is high, the second transfer, that is read operation, will takes place and the data is being read by the master. Here we can see as read is high in the T1 to T2 clock cycle, that is address space. So when H ready is high in the T2 to T4 clock cycle, that is data phase, the read operation takes place with the help of HR data bus. And again, T3 to T3 to T4 is a data phase for the third transfer. And here we can see write signal is high, which indicates a write operation, and H ready is high. So up to here T3, sorry, my mistake. Up to T3, up to T2 to T4 is the address space. Since we are still passing the address, so T2 to T4 is the address space and T4 to T5 is the data phase. So here we can see the data is being passed from master to slave during the data phase. Since H rate is high and H ready is also high. So once again if we analyze, for a transfer to get completed, that is for a transfer it has address phase and a data phase. So address phase takes one clock cycle to get completed, and data phase takes one clock cycle to get completed. So T0 to T1 is the address phase. So first transfer, let us consider first transfer. T0 to T1 is the address phase. Let's say address A, and T1 to T2 is the data phase, and T1 to T2 is the data phase for address A, and second transfer starts at T1 to T2 clock cycle only. And for this second transfer, address space is at T1 to T2, and say it is address B. Here we can see address B. And for this data phase is, here we can see after HDD signal becoming high, the data is getting transferred. So the data phase is extending up to T4 as the address space is getting extended. So the data phase is T2 to T4. So for the second transfer, the data phase is getting extended up to T4. So here we can see an extended clock cycle. Extended clock cycle for this transfer. Since HDD is becoming low, the address space is getting extended and the data phase will also get extended. So it is called as extended transfer. And for this, and the second transfer is getting completed at T2 to T4. And similarly, third transfer is getting started at T2. So the address space for the third transfer is T2 to T4, and the data phase for this is T4 to T5. Here we can see the data is transferred. Here we can see that third data transfer, that is data C, is being written from T4 to T4. So this is all about multiple transfers in AHB. Hope you all understood this video. So thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe.